Houston, need you to unmute your mic, Houston.
Sorry about that.
No
Hi,
worries,
everybody.
no worries. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Welcome to our episode of Take 5 at 5. Welcome to our show. Please comment and let us know that you are here. Give us a high five, right? Today, we have another guest speaker, right, at our show, Edward Chan. Yes, what is Edward Chan is going to share with us today? He is going to share with us Route to Resiliency. Yes. So this is another episode. We are starting episode on getting off the dock, gearing up for post MCO. So I believe the MCO has slowly loosened up and many people are started to get back to work already. For those of you who are tuning in, if you are at work, please relax, take 5 and sit back and relax. If you are driving in a car, we also like you to also tune in, relax, you can also hear us, right? And what are we going to talk about today is the route to resiliency. Now, before we go into the topic, right, I would like to just give you a brief introduction about who is Edward, right? So Edward has a master applied positive psychology and coaching psychology, right? And he is also the winner of Silver Award at HR Vendor of the Year. Now, personally, Edward is from Ipoh, and his favorite food is the Nonya Cendol. Yes.
I'm sure it's a lot of people's favorite as well.
All right.
Yes.
So, Edward, before we go into the topic about resiliency, right? Maybe I'm a bit curious to find out from you. why is there something called positive psychology?
Thank you so much, Hilson, for having me in the show today. Very blessed, very excited as well. I think, and thank you so much actually for giving me this platform to actually share a bit more about positive psychology. Because to be very honest to you, when people talk about psychology, people usually speak the word psycho first. People always talk about psychology from quite a negative perspective. It links to people with depression, panic attack, suicidal thoughts. So whenever people talk about, oh, you go for counseling session or you go for psychotherapy session, it's usually not the most positive perspective from people. So positive psychology is a bit more unique. We want to talk about how psychology can help to ensure that we focus more on our strength and ensuring that people are flourishing. So some of the topics or some of the key factors or key elements that we want to talk about on positive psychology are mainly on happiness, for example, subject well-being, for example. You want to talk about resiliency, you want to talk about emotional intelligence, you want to talk about how can people be a better version of themselves. So that's when we want to move away from what we call negative or what we call the conventional psychology. And that's the reason why I think that for me today, I'll be very, very excited to talk about resiliency. So one of my really favorite topic as well to talk about.
Thank you, Edward. So we would like to give a shout out to people who are tuning in already. So Julia, hi, how are you, Julia? Thank you for tuning in. We have Maggie, and then we have Kai, as well as Catherine in the show. Apologize, I was muted at the beginning of the show, but nonetheless, the show must go on. Right, we are back, and you can hear me loud and clear right now. Okay. Yes. To echo what you just said, Edward. So it's important, right? People look at psychology right now in a different perspective. So thank you for clarifying that positive psychology. It is very important to look at psychology in a positive way, not so much about the psycho aspect of psychology. Right now, let me just also ask you something about resiliency. As my course of work as a team builder, so we run team building programs. So it's so important to ask people to be persistent, to be resilient, right? Now, however, sometimes we see when the going gets tough, right? That is where people gives up,
Correct.
So can you please maybe give us some idea or advice why people give up, especially when times are tough?
Well, that's a very good question. I think it resonates very well with the main theme today, which is gearing up for post-MCO. Personally, I think what we can explore first is the definition of resilience. So there are a lot of definitions, whether from an HR perspective or from a psychological perspective or from behavioral change perspective. But none of the less, it comprised of three main components. The first one is what we call resistance. So during tough time or during adversity, how can you stay strong? Second, you talk about recovery. So how do you bounce back when things happen? So the third point will be reconfiguration. So how do you grow and be better of the version that hits you during adversity? So I want to give an analogy of boxing. So it will be easier for you to understand as well. Resistance is someone that can take a lot of punches. So you go there, your face is thick, people keep punching you and you're still fine. So that's what we call, very good, your resistance very high. And second one is that when people punch you, right, you have that knockout when the 10 counts, right? So how fast you can recover. So whether you'll come back at the count of 3 or you come back at the count of 5 or come back at the count of 7. And the third one, reconfiguration, is that after the match, so you go back and you either know what to train again or do you study your past video again, so to make sure that the next game you will be better. So that is the definition of resiliency. So to answer specifically on your question, right, that is the point that we want to talk about as well. So if you're talking about, for example, how can certain people stay more resilient during tough time? So an easier way to explore will coming up from these 3 points. People that have higher resiliency scores or level tend to demonstrate a higher frequency of resistance, recovery, and reconfiguration.
Okay, Thank you for your comment, Edward. There are extra guests are also tuning already. So hi to Ben Hoy, hi to TK Chan, hi to Farahin Zin. Yes, Farahin was saying awesome analogy, right?
That's right.
Okay. So it also coincides with what we were sharing yesterday with Kai about
Correct.
taking feedback. So some people taking feedback very differently. I think that
Correct.
also relates to being resilient. So some people can take 5 negative feedback at one time without feeling the, or some people have to give them good 5 feedback and one not so good feedback. Then they think that, yes, I can take that feedback right now. Now, Edward, perhaps do you have some statistic or score to show what is the current level of resiliency, in our fellow Malaysian?
Okay. Thank you so much. If you were to recently, I mean, I was just going through the news and seeing, because a lot of data that we collect on resiliency or about stress management, about anxiety, is always the Angmo Western point of view. So interestingly, right, a couple of days ago, the center based in Malaysia, they actually have an interview on assessment for almost 1,000 over Malaysian to talk about their emotional well-being during this time. So when they are going through that interview session or the assessment with the survey, right, with that particular research or that particular point of view talks about 3 different levels of negative emotion. It talks about depression, it talks about anxiety, it talks about stress. So very interestingly, probably if you were to look at this particular slides, right, it talks about the green one is normal. So if you look at the depression, anxiety, and stress, right, it's a close half of them, half of these 1,000 over people, you're talking about a good 500 people, have self-reported that they actually feel depressed during MCO. And interestingly, the survey period is from 5th of April to 10th of April. So you're talking about the mid of MCO. You also look at the same thing again, anxiety as well. You're talking about a good slightly 55% of them actually feel normal, but 45% talks about they actually feel anxiety during this period of time, and stress, especially while it's lower than depression and anxiety, it's still quite high. So you probably will answer that it's only 1,000 samples and they are also self-reported. So how accurate it is? I want to share with all of you in terms of self-reported, meaning I actually think that I feel depressed. For someone to admit the fact that actually feel that, it's a note for us to take. And MCO itself, as a Malaysian or a global citizen as well, it generally hit us not just from the society perspective or social perspective, but also from a financial perspective as well. A lot of people will say that, oh, I don't have financial support, I might get laid off. So this kind of feeling of uncertainty is the one that usually trigger stress, anxiety, or even depression.
Okay, right. So extra people tuning in. Alex is here. Hi, Alex, for tuning in.
Alex.
Right. Alex was saying, hi, everyone. Resilience, one of my favorite topic.
Yep.
Okay. Now, thank you for the survey. So now, personally, sometimes I also feel that I am also resilient, but at times I'm also not resilient. Especially when I am attempting to do something that is entirely new, like going online or doing webinar, or going Facebook Live like this, right? It takes me a few times to actually get myself right natural or get myself trained to be able to have the comfort as well as the mindset, right, to come to be Facebook Live. So what would advice would you give me?
Wow. I think if I can answer this, it's $1 million question for a lot of people, isn't it? But well, specifically, if you were to ask me, there will be a lot of answers if you were to go through the research or the literature and whatnot. But to simplify it or to make it more practical for most of us, a lay person, to actually use it, it goes back to two particular. Just remember to see. First of all, is your confidence level. And second is your control level. So a lot of times people feel stress is because a lot of things are uncertain. So I cannot control. So for example, why are we feeling, anxious or very or excited depending on which part, how much do you enjoy, for example, horror movie or roller coaster ride. So for me, the uncertainty of knowing that something will pop up but don't know when to pop up, that kind of uncertainty that I cannot control scares me. It brings emotion. It could be a positive or negative, depend on you. So a lot of times when people talk about how do you manage your stress or stay strong during tough time, you always goes back to 2C. So the first one is control, when we talk about it. Second one is confidence. So hence the reason why certain people, you find that, hey, why are certain, the senior people will say that, oh, don't worry, I've been through a lot of stress, like the Chinese saying that they have more salt than rice, So these are the people that they go through so many things, hence they are confident the fact that, okay, I can do this and I can have everything under control. It's in my dashboard. So for us to increase our resilience, the simple version is to ensure that how can you have more control and how can you be more confident when you're handling that. That's when a lot of tips or a lot of factors that we want to share later, by sharing that, right, that will be the key elements of maintaining the composure, staying strong, and staying resilient during tougher times.
Okay, so we have some comment from the viewer, right? That is isn't it interesting to have a roller coaster in our uncertainty? Is it fun?
You are right, and hence the topic that we're going to talk later, why are certain people feeling that this kind of uncertainty is fun, while certain people feel that this kind of anxiety or this kind of uncertainty are scary. So if you were to go back to the same research just now, in fact, a lot of people will be seeing from the fact that, of course, you're talking about half of the people actually feel depressed, during that interview. You're talking about a good percentage of 50%. For people who feel anxious, you're talking about good numbers of 45% people feeling anxious. So a lot of people will see from that negative perspective, oh, this bunch of people, or this percentage of people actually feel depressed or anxious or stressed. But let's also switch from a different perspective. What makes the rest of the people feel that, oh, actually, it's still normal. Life still goes on during MCO. That is the unique point. Everyone probably experience MCO the same way. But the only difference, probably from Muham's perspective, will be how do you see that? So if you were to anticipate that, oh, I'm excited with the roller coaster ride, you see that as a fun. The uncertainty is something that you are expecting. In fact, you are looking forward to. And that's when people will say that, change is the thing that the things that always change is change. So later of this session or today, we'll talk a bit more about that. And hence the reason why we should focus a bit more in terms of from the positive side. What are the core factors? What are the missing elements that will make someone stronger during a tough time?
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is that since we have live audience here, we're gonna maybe just do a quick survey here to see whether they are. What do you feel about the current? I mean, how do you cope with the stress? Do you like it or you don't like it, or maybe how should I put it? Maybe one is you like the uncertainty. Second one is neutral, and third one is no. Maybe you can type in the text box just 1, 2, or 3.
1, 2, or 3.
Yes, 1 is you like the uncertainty, 2 is you're neutral about it, and 3 is what is that? You don't like about it. So number 1,
don't like about it.
Yes, like about it. Number 2 is neutral. 3 is no. How do you cope with current roller coaster situation? You like it, you are neutral about it, and 3 is no. Let's see whether the survey comes in. Right.
Well, we are waiting for the live comments, right? How about you, Houston? How are you coping with MCO?
To be honest, Edward, it is actually a roller coaster ride for me. roller coaster in a way that is not fun, right? Because it goes down and come back. So it also reminds me of something that I share in my training called the egg flap chart. Looking at emotional roller coasters that we go in from being depressed, and then we can actually slowly bring ourselves up. Right? So I can start my day by doing my exercise by doing my positive affirmation, jumping on a trampoline. Today is a great day. And then suddenly I go back and look at my PL, suddenly it can go like from point 10 and drop below. Right? And then suddenly when my kids were like noisy at home, I have to go and talk to them. So it goes up a little bit and goes up a little bit, and then it goes down. So it's like a roller coaster to me. So,
but I also want to echo that point. I think Muihan started a very good analogy on the roller coaster, right? And Houston also continues to add that, right? The ups and downs, right? One of the very important element or component that we talk on positive psychology is what we call the baseline happiness or the baseline neutral emotion. So people always say that, oh, I'm a positive person or I'm a negative person. So, but we all know the fact that there will be ups and downs. There will be days that we feel a bit more positive. There will be days that we feel a bit more down. So, but regardless what, there's always a benchmark or a foundation where you go up and down, just like a roller coaster, right? So, in psychology, it's what we call the hedonist treadmill. So, it's always go back to the neutral point. A simple example will be, for example, let's just say that you get a good bonus. Okay, you get a good 6 months bonus, or some of you hit a jackpot. So that kind of moment, you will shoot very high. You get so excited, you're so happy, you are literally high, running around and whatnot, right? Really showing that kind of emotion. But those kind of emotion won't last long. Eventually, it goes back to the base. And when we talk about resilience, root of resilience for today, we talk about how do you ensuring that your base is always there, and if possible, ensuring that your base can be slightly going up to a bit the one that you desire, whether it's on a bit more positive or a bit on negative. So you were right. I like your perspective just now.
Okay, so we have the results up already. So I think majority of our viewer today are scoring at 2.
Yeah, very neutral about that.
Neutral zone. But actually, it answered my question though, Edward. You're saying that is there a way for us to maintain at that neutral level, or how can we actually move from the neutral to a higher level of being positive, being resilient, having that optimism?
I think the simpler way to refer to that is that I always believe that it's not easy for us to find source to be happier or stay strong during tough time. You will have a lot of self-help gurus. You will read a lot of inspirational quotes. People say that as long as you have dessert makes you happy, sugar rush and whatnot, right? But I think what I'm trying to share a bit more today, or try to challenge some of those kinds of alternative or solution, is that how many of you know which is your natural tendency to stay strong and stay resilient? A lot of us are probably just be like, oh yeah, my friends say that if I'm sad, right, I'm just gonna eat dessert, but actually that doesn't work on me. So what I'm gonna share now is actually 6 core factors on how people core factors of people staying strong and staying resilient during adversity. So out of that 6, right, each of you, I hope this particular session will trigger you to think about which one is actually some of your main themes or your natural tendency to actually cope with stress. For example, the first one that we usually talk about are optimism. Optimisms are people that naturally feel a bit more positive. These are the people that are being labeled as, oh yeah, you are such a positive person, you're such a happy, jolly, happy-go-lucky kind of person. So these are the people that naturally, right, like it or not, they have a slight advantage of being a bit more resilient, because they see things differently. They usually able to see positive events more. Let's, for example, the same issue to be shared, right? They will probably see that as, oh, actually it's quite a good experience, and they also have a tendency to linger longer on a positive emotion. So some of the tips that if it resonates well with you, right? Some of the hacks to further increase or enhance that part of resiliency or that particular factor of resiliency will actually be on simple, just do more things that you enjoy doing. These are the people that have a lot of tendency to have hobbies. A lot of them actually watch, funny videos, ensuring that you are being triggered by positive emotion. So that it's a simplest hack that you can start doing immediately right after this show. So that will be the first one. The second
So
one
for
people
me,
talk
it's drinking coffee,
that will be
to,
good. Correct.
to stay
So whenever you
positive.
feel stressed, that's what you go through, right? That's a happy activity that you do, right?
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Then the next one that people talks about are meaning and personal value. So these are the people that usually goes back to some of them would say a religion perspective or even spiritual perspective. They have a big why. They have a big motivation. They need to know that whenever something hits me, right, I go back to my why. I'm thinking like, why am I doing this to begin with? Is that a reason why I started this? So these are the people that they have a high tendency to know before I'm doing something or whenever a roadblock, they will tend to reflect what is the core message or what's the core reason why they do that. So if you realize that this is something that resonates well with you, a basic hack or easier hack is that do reflection. Reflection journals helps very well. So whenever you have roadblocks and whatnot, you can either talk to someone to share about the reason why you started something, or you can just write if you prefer a bit quiet way or a more personal approach. And also, you can also benefit from volunteering or contributing to a social cause because you always see a meaning beyond what you are doing. So whenever you're stressed, this is a platform or this is a channel that you go through. That will be the second one.
All right. So Edward, before we continue, right, just
Correct.
want to just shout out to some of you who just joined us. Please let us know that you are watching. Please say hi to us so that we know you are here, because we are talking about Route to Resiliency by Edward. We are at the second point, right? So the first one is optimism. The second one is personal meaning, right? Personal meaning and or personal value, meaning and personal value, right?
Correct.
So we are at these 2 points. So please comment and ask us questions, right? So
Correct.
do you think that these two helps you, right? Or you think, okay, sometimes I'm optimism at one point, sometimes I am not. Yes, personal meaning. Yes, sometimes I can relate, being positive, giving me the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. Right now, 5 things why you want to be a trainer. So if this tool is really relevant to you, please let us know. If not, I think Edward will also add on what are the other things. Oh, wow.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So to some of you that just now that you are referring to, what is the 6 factor or 6 routes, right? So you can actually take a good photo on this particular part. Then I will continue with the social support. Social support are probably one of the one that we are very familiar with. When you are stressed, you realize that I know who to call to, either call to my family and friends. I reach out to people that I trust. I reach out to people that I could feel comfortable in sharing. So whenever I stress, these are the things that happens. And based on my research and also based on a lot of assessment, because this is actually drawn out from assessment called a 3R resilience assessment. Social support is one of the highest, if not most common resiliency solution or resiliency route, right, for Malaysians actually. So probably because a bit on the cultural background as well, we are very strongly bond with our family and friends. So it's not very surprisingly that this is one of the key core factors for people to stay strong. And then the fourth one will be interestingly on solution building. So these are the people that when things happen, they will go back to their drawing board or immediately think about, okay, what's next? So Houston, you probably have a lot of friends or a lot of people that when MCO hits, right, how does that impact the training industry? So the moment they know, they straight away go to, okay, maybe we can talk to certain people. What can some of the activities we can do? What's the alternative solution that you got? In fact, you doing this particular session, right, is probably one of your approach as well in terms of staying strong and staying resilient during this uncertainty. Then the fifth one, yes.
But before you move on, I just want to say hi to Daniel. Daniel is here. Daniel is my schoolmate.
Hi.
Hi, Daniel. Now, before I think Edward summarizes the 6, right? Maybe you just like to ask the audience, right? Out of these 6, right? Which one do you think that resonate with you the most? Just type in the text box 1 to 6 so that we can also make it interactive for you. No?
Correct.
Is it optimism, meaning, and personal value? 2, 3 is social support. 4 is solution building. 5, ability to grow and learn. And 6 is perseverance. Right? Just type in the text box as Edward summarizes the others.
Yep.
Yes, over to you, Edward.
Thanks, Yusen. So the next 2 will be, the first one will be adaptability to grow and learn. So one of the language that a lot of psychology or conventional psychology on counseling psychology will focus on is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. People a lot of times talks about that, So whenever, for example, if you are facing a great trauma, it will significantly affected you. But one of the things that I want to share from a positive psychology, which I'm very proud of to share about, it's what we call PTG, post-traumatic growth. So you realize that the research shows that, okay, simple as this. When people come back from war, for example, from the Vietnamese War or Afghanistan War, you hear a lot of armies going through PTSD. They feel stressed. These are some of traumatic events. They're no longer able to live like before the war. But there are also a group of people that are able to strive and flourish from that particular event. These are the people that realize that, okay, despite having this issue, I will want to grow from that. I want to improve from that. I want to share my stories and let people know that, okay, even if this thing happens to you, it shouldn't be the end of the world. So these are the people that demonstrate the values or the factors of adaptability to grow and learn. So people who usually cope with using this particular factor or this particular theme, right, they tend to be a very good learner. So these are the people that say that what we also call growth mindset. They also practice a lot of growth mindset. They'll come in and say that, okay, if this thing happens to me, right, what can I learn from that? Okay, I wouldn't get beaten by this. Okay, so let's just say that this, if road A cannot, then road B, but how can I do road B? So very similar to solution building, but number 5 focus a bit more on the mindset. You're talking about the mental side, where solution building are usually action based. So that is something that I see it resonates to Catherine.
Yes.
Okay. And Wehan as well. So
I can also see many of the answers are all different.
Correct.
That's good. Okay, Edward.
Correct. The last one, perseverance, is someone that a lot of people will talk about. Multiple words: determined, passionate, grit. People who really, what we call on the boxing language, right? They might not be the best fighter, but it's undefeatable, in a football game, right? These people might not win the game, might not score, but you cannot score against them. So what is the thing, or what is the special parts that they have? So these are the people that less likely to quit a project. These are the people that most likely to stick to their goal, but very flexible in how they approach. So for example, like I come from Ipoh, right? I'm very clear that I'm going to Ipoh. But now MCO highway is blocked, right? So what are some of the alternative way that to go in? Also a form of resiliency as well. So these are the people, if it resonates well with you, like with Loy, right, Brother Loy, right? These are the people that tend to have routines. Okay, they know that when everything is full, my emotions start to feel a bit more stressed and whatnot. They fall back to their routine. They have their structure, they have their ways to do their things. They usually focus a lot more on the progress, not just on the goal itself, but focus on the journey, the progress. And they also tend to have a lot of people or be around with people that are very supportive, that also helps them to think about, you cannot kill me, man. This is things that I want to do and I will still do. If I cannot use this goal, I will just find a different way to do it. So this summarize 6 natural tendency for different people to actually feel stay strong or stays resilient during tough time. But I also want to echo back to the live comment from Farahim, for example. I see a lot of people who probably only have one or two major team. People tend to ask me as well, Ed, is it possible to have more than one? The question is definitely, definitely. So that's, in fact, the good thing will be if you know that you have more than one, you can always go to another one. For example, social support has become one of the biggest concerns during MCO. People talk about, physically distancing yourself, last time you were able to go out at Yam Chai. These are some of the things you cannot do. And this is one of the reasons why I believe, or I hypothesize, that Malaysians are badly affected with the MCO or the lockdown. Generally people are just feeling that, oh my God, I'm not going out, I'm not meeting my friends, I'm not meeting my colleagues. So their social support, so-called resiliencies or staying strong team, right, is being challenged in this part. So to people who have more than one, right, they can switch. For example, during the time, if I cannot depend or I have less tendency to able to draw social support as one of my resilience team, you can focus on different one. Like for example, for foreign, it could be meaning and personal value. So why is the reason we are under this lockdown? Why is it so important for me to persevere, to stay strong and stay healthy? So Farhan will probably have an idea of, oh yes, I'm staying at home, I'm actually saving the community, I'm actually saving Malaysia, hashtags, stay strong, stay at home, So having multiple teams, of course, it will be more helpful than only depending on one particular main team.
Okay, so you are right, Edward. So to summarize what you have just shared just now is that you can have more than one. That's number one. You can choose the route, not necessarily must be one, so it can be many. At the same time, I think all of us are very different. We can see from the survey here, many of the answers are very different, which is also perfect, which is also fine because different folk, different stroke. That's what we also say in our team program.
Hey, nice one.
Yes, choose the one that is resonate with you. So to find out more about this topic, I think this topic can go really deep. I think Edward also has evaluation and assessment that he can also let you do the assessment so that you are more accurate, right? Which route that you can choose. So thank you for tuning in. We are almost done. So before we go, Edward, we'd like to share with us some of the webinars that's happening at your end.
Correct. So just now when we talk about resiliencies, right, how can people stay more resilient? It's based on two things, confidence and control. So what I'm trying to share today will be a session that will be featuring Professor Dave Ulrich. He is a HR guru. He's huge in the HR realm. He's probably the Steve Jobs, and you're talking the 1%, top 1% HR gurus or HR experts in the world. So we are very blessed. Avidity International, we are in collaborations with Professor Dave Ulrich to have an event on 20th of May, 10:30 a.m. Malaysia time. And this live webinar will go across 9 different countries, across Asia. So to get him is actually very hard to those who really know him. So and he actually make a very huge commitment to be in the Asia region to talk about how can HR pivot, or how can the HR leaders and the businesses plays a very significant role during COVID-19 in helping the business in his own language, right? HR should be contributing to the team in helping to win from the business perspective as well. It's not just about us as doing the admin stuff. So very interesting. If you go and Google him, he talks about a lot of models. But I don't have a lot of time for that. Do sign up. That QR code, just use your phone, just scan on it, and then I will hope to also see you there as well. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, Edward, for
thank you so much, Houston,
being here with us. So tomorrow we have a next episode at Take 5 at 5. So what is happening tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow we have Catherine to talk about power of trust. Yes, another interesting topic. So tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. Same place, same time. Hi, five to all of you.
I'll take a high. Thanks. See you all. Bye bye. Thank you so much.